Hello, this is Carson, and this is my assignment for video. I have done this project alone because my partner did not respond to me. I was going to email you, but I didn't. I'm also majorly sleep deprived, running on 22 to 23 total hours of no sleep. I have not slept for that many hours because I crammed for an exam. So if I'm a little incomprehensible, that's why. So that's the sequel. Nothing special. What is special though, maybe in a good way, is my UML class diagram. There is something important to note about it, is that it's a little crazy. So what you'll notice about my UML class diagram, it's a mix between the model view controller pattern and the data access object pattern. So the data access object pattern is the pattern you requested. Its primary purpose is to couple the business logic of an application from low-level data persistence mechanisms. Then I have the model view controller pattern. Now this is important because I wanted to, obviously we have to show the models. So the model handles the application data and business logic, the view is responsible for user interface and presentation, and the controller acts as intermediary that handles user input, interacts with the model, and updates the view. This is a separation also of the logic. So what happens is the controller gets the models from the data access object pattern, and then it loads that into the view, and then the view gets application like user interface handling, and then it pushes the handlers to the work entry controller, so the work entry controller can handle the events of the work hour view. I don't know if this is the best implementation, but that's what I decided to do. I also wanted to make it so that the work hour entry model is immutable. And I wanted to do this because obviously immutable objects once created can't be modified, but I wanted to eliminate the possibility of unexpected side effects where one part of the model may inadvertently change the state of an object. But we want it to be consistent because the work hour entry data access object interface, that's a mouthful, is sending a straight record to the work entry controller. So that means I don't want it to be mutated. If we want to send or change anything, we take the data from the work hour view, we send that to the implementation, and the implementation then sends that to the database to create it. And then we send that back as a record. That's the whole idea. I think this is a pretty good implementation, despite the fact that the instructions specifically require the work hour entry to be a class with a constructor and getters and setters. I think you will be willing to overlook this just because of the logical reasoning I have behind the work hour entry being immutable versus not being immutable. Just because of the main pattern and design or architecture of this program. The entire architecture is split into three primary packages of model, control, and the data access object pattern classes or contracts. There's the implement or impl there inside the data access object, but that's just to like tell you that that's the implementation. And that uses the database connection, which uses the Oracle info. I will have the Oracle info specifically outside of all these packages at the root, because that just it's basically like an env file, so you want it there so that it's easy to change and easy to access when if you were to, I don't know, if anyone were to be crazy enough to edit this. Now you notice another weird anomaly here is this response class on the bottom. The response class is the way it is because the response class, that little response class exists because in the instructions it said that each method should use SQL queries with JDBC and return a successor error message. I interpreted that as having to return both a error success merit message alongside the data. So that response class exists to wrap both of that. But it turns out that get all entries will get you a list So it is a generic for that reason. Yep. I've added a little is success boolean, in case, so that I don't have to check like what the message is, because the message could tell you, this is an error or this is a thing. This is not an error. Is success just tells you if it's an error or not. It's pretty good. I think for an improvement, I would use work hour view and then change this into an interface and then implement that for like a view. Just because what if I wanted to make a different view? Example. Um, the another issue is that you wanted a button to load from database, but I was a little confused from that because the whole point of the data entry the whole point of this like interface for the part of the pattern allows me to like use different data. So I could load from like serialize from a file and then have an implementation for that and an implementation for the database. But I don't have the time to code both of those. And certainly not the brain power because I'm clearly already losing it. So yeah, it's pretty neat. We can look at some of the code. It's probably not the code that I'll be submitting because I'm recording this ahead of time. Mostly because as the night draws on, the more incomprehensible I will be. So it's good to record ahead of time. So here it is, the app extends application. Let me just zoom this in. Okay, so you got the app extends application. And here is where just the root stuff is. This is the connection. If we go to the connection, the database connection that contains the URL database password, it returns the connection, and then you close the connection inside the the implementation, like so. So this is probably the worst thing I've ever coded. It is definitely not following Dry principle, because I'm losing my mind. So here it is, the connection. You make the query result, select. I used a string builder for this, just because, strings immutable. String builder apparently is good for that. That's the only reason. So I used that string builder to build the query, built it, executes it, and then returns a response. That should say something. And then it will tell you if there's an error or not. It runs like so. So I can add let's do how many hours have not slept. 23. Student. Save as new entry. Okay, I have not implemented that yet, but it should show up in the database. Come on. Yeah, there it is. And then I can delete that. Entries deleted. Yep, that's the basic premise. Yep, so you gotta submit changes, save as new entry, and delete. You can change here and then modify and then save as a new entry. Submit the change. Oh, here's an error. Yeah, there's some stuff I still need to work on. I'm gonna submit it as is and probably fix it later this month. But yeah, uh, I think it's pretty neat so far. Definitely needs improvement, but it's pretty neat. You got the work hour record here. It implements is serializable. And then you have the entry controller. And it's all neatly put in here. I did not comment that part, unfortunately. Most of the things that are commented are the stuff I coded earlier in the day.